Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. Happy Friday. We have a special day today. And no Ben Zapata, we are not going back. We're going forward. And we're going forward with our special guest today. She's been here with us before. You know her from the Twitter. You might know her from her thing, Are You Effing Kidding Me? She has a thing she does when she writes the things that she says and the things that she says and she talks about, and then she reads them and she writes them. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Jojo from Joyce.
Why? Hello, Brooklyn. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you. I'm doing well despite a little bit of the under the weather, recovering from the Rona.
Yeah.
The
Well,
Rona, which I caught, apparently had caught
hmm
at the DNC.
it was a love
Go
fest,
figure.
man. I think it's not. It might not be the only thing that was spreading around up in there. You know what I'm saying? People getting
My
busy.
my goodness, my goodness.
My
So
goodness.
I actually haven't not seen you
No.
since the DNC.
Yeah.
Uh, which was busy. It was crazy. So what I want to do first
Okay.
is I want to throw this thing up here, right? This is our
Hey,
graphic for today's show. Kamala rising,
love
Trump
it.
slumps. Trump
Woohoo.
slumps. And so there's a few things I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
We have on the agenda to talk about. Obviously, we want to talk about the Dana Bash. Is it Dana or Dana?
Dana. I think it's Dana Bash. I think it's Dana Banana. Dana
Okay.
Bash. I don't think it's
the
yeah.
Dana Bash interview last night that was also not just Kamala, but it was also her running mate Tim Walz, which people were making a big deal out of, and we'll talk about whether or not this was such a big deal or whether it
Yeah.
was a nothing burger.
Right.
Then we will discuss something that is actually a big deal. It
Yeah.
is actually a something burger. It is Donald Trump once again desecrating our fallen soldiers, once again, willfully, and then avoiding any and all responsibility for it
Shocker.
by throwing other people under the bus, including our very own President Biden, believe it or not. He's blaming Biden for this
Of
nonsense.
course he is. Right. Of course he is.
Last but not least, we are going to, I do want to do a quick recap of some of the highlights and maybe some lowlights from last week's DNC. It seems like it was so much further back than just a week ago, right?
Isn't that crazy? It is so crazy. We packed so much into 1 week and it feels like it was a month ago, and yet everything all of a sudden feels like it was all 1 month ago. I don't know how
Yeah.
that be happening. Yeah.
And before I forget, folks, ladies and gentlemen, I always forget, but I'm going to remind you now. So later on, you can remind me to remind you again to please make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button. The like button looks like my thumbs up right there. Make sure you do it. It helps the channel out tremendously.
Don't
Now,
show Trump that thumb. He's gonna have thumb envy.
uh,
He's got a big thumb. No, you not he, you, he, you, he. You know what I mean?
so tell me, first of all, tell me about the lovely background behind you there. Where is this? Is a new digs for you? Is that correct?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just by the sheer happenstance. Well, or not by sheer happenstance. I work out of my house, right? So I'm actually a mom. Trolls. I don't have a meth lab in my house, but I just share my little tiny bungalow house. It's 2-bedroom ranch, tiny, 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 with my kids, obviously, and my dog, who's decided to growl at nothing now. And
Hmm,
it's really challenging, as you probably know, without an office space to work in your home with your kids there when they're like, "I'm hungry. You need to know where's my work shirt?" Like all of those things. So
indeed.
something opened up. I saw a sign very near my home, and I was like, I wonder. I wonder. And sure enough, it was an office for rent. It's teeny tiny, but it's adorable. And it has these like very pale colored walls, which made it a lovely blank canvas for this tableau of
Mhm.
art, which these are women drinking beer, and this sign says maybe swearing will help. And then there's a Gandhi quote, and of course the Beatles, and we vote, and it just goes on and on and on. And of course I've got Garrett Cole here with his Cy Young, and it's the bobblehead, and I shouldn't have taken out of his box, and I shouldn't touch him, but I can't not touch Garrett Cole, because if I ever met him in real life, I would definitely touch him. Sorry, Garrett, but and so yeah, so I have this teeny tiny wonderful little office, and it's largely very quiet, and I can get actual work done here, which is amazing. So that's what I do.
Nice.
Thanks for asking.
Nice. And so it actually looks like, it doesn't look like you're in an office. It looks like you're home. So it was a good idea. It's very well appointed for. So now, what do you intend to use this office for?
OnlyFans. Sorry. Shit. Shoot. Stinker. Damn it. Sorry. No, I don't have an OnlyFans. If I did, it wouldn't be a foot fetish one, because I certainly don't have that. I'm kidding. It's for work. So I plan on writing in here. I have some stuff I'm working on long form. My Substack will be written in here. I'm recording my own podcast. I had Jasmine Crockett on yesterday morning. That airs this Saturday, which is tomorrow. But a lot of quiet writing, reflection, angry tweeting, and not foot fetish OnlyFans, because that's ew. I have an American flag because I love my country.
Some of the writing you're doing is, I believe, what I alluded to in my intro of you, the very interesting, humorous articles that you write for. Are you effing kidding me? There we go.
Yes, sir. And thank you for saying that. I'm not a published author like you, doubly published author like you, but
well, I'm not doubly published yet.
Not yet.
Only singly published.
That was the pre, on the publishing. Sorry about that. A little bit came out first, and yeah, that goes. But yeah, I don't have any books yet to my credit, but you do, which is amazing. And I'm trying to emulate, the path that you've paved for us creators in the publishing world. So I also, my Substack, which is my little baby, which is where I write all my crazy stuff in long form, and hopefully all of that can be compiled into a book someday. So that's kind of like the long term vision.
We are looking forward to that. But speaking of creators, I do want to discuss, excuse me, what was, I believe, the first time ever was the DNC making the decision to make creators and social media influencers credentialed attendees at this year's Democratic National Convention, which was held in Chicago. And during this thing, we were rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest names in the business, the Brian Tyler Cohens, and what were some of the what were your favorite run-ins, and what was your favorite person to meet at this
creator-wise, or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh boy. Well, I got to smile through a picture with Tish James where I told her she was. Can I swear in this, Brooklyn? I can't remember.
Let's see. Yes, you're good. Okay. We're past the 5-minute mark, so go for it.
So we were. I was, smiling for pictures. I had my arm around her, waist or whatever, how you do, and I was smiling, going, "I just have to tell you, you're such a fucking badass. I just needed to tell you that. I can't be this close to you and not tell you you're a fucking badass." And she goes, "Thank you very much." And we were just smiling, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's such a badass." So that was crazy cool. I forced Gavin Newsom to deal with me, which was fun. I was like, I'm putting myself in front of him. Sean Astin was incredible. I mean, my Mark Hamill experience is like literally I just still pinch myself. I cannot even believe that happened. But I mean, I got to hang out with you. Oh, there it is. Oh, hi, Mark.
I'm very jealous of you having met Mark Hamill. I mean, I was standing there when you talked to Letitia James. I took a picture with her too, but very jealous of the Mark Hamill thing. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, I just I still don't really know how. I can't even really fully download that happened, because it was crazy. But it was just my dad's shining, smiling, looking down now, because I think he would have really liked that.
I love that he's such a regular guy, like he engages with so many people on the platform. Like, I lost my shit the first time he liked one of my tweets, And like I ran around the office, I told everybody, I called people on the phone, Mark Hamill just there.
Exactly, same. I mean, but that's the thing, like, that's the power that he has. That's how,
Yeah.
universal the love of him and respect for him is. It's people really geek out over because it's just, I mean, he's larger than life. And in person, he's a real person, like you said, and he really loves this stuff. He really is interested. He loves this country. He loves all of this political stuff. I think he's super engaged, and it's awesome.
So you were here at the DNC, and this was your first time?
Oh yeah, that was my yeah. Pop my convention cherry. All right.
What was the experience like to you?
It was. I described it as yesterday to a friend as being in a bouncy castle that you never ever get out of, and you just kind of bump to the next part of the bouncy castle, and you're like, "What is happening? Where am I? I don't know. This is fun, but like, that's what it felt like when I look back on it. Because in the middle of it, you're like, where am I? I don't know. The head spinning. Where am I going now? Like, am I in the basement? Why am I in the basement? I'm meeting Jessica Darloff in the basement. Like, how did I even get here? It was
Yeah.
kind of like that. Where like, I was like, ping, 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 ping. And, oh, Joe, can I interview you? Ping, ping, ping. Oh, there's, whoever. I want to talk to them. It was just like, yeah, being in a bouncy castle for 5 days straight, 4 days straight. Well, I was there for 7 overall. So and then finally, on Friday, somebody lets you out and you're just like, what? Dizzy, and you're like, what happened? You're like so riding the high, but you're hungry and thirsty and exhausted, and you don't really
Hmm.
know which end is up. And then somebody's like, did you know Mark Hamill was in that bouncy castle with you? And you're like, what the fuck did you just say? Kind of like that. So that's how I think of it now, more or less.
What do you think about the decision to bring folks like us, right, to the DNC as credentialed attendees? Do you think that it was helpful to the party in general and to the campaign specifically?
Massively, 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 and super smart, super forward thinking, but also really finger on the pulse of like what's going on right now in terms of where people consume information, who they trust, who they want to hear from, what kind of presentation they want. I think largely, and I'm not saying it's dead, but I think a lot of people are tired of consuming their information from corporate media where the messages all feel sort of stale and the same. Like they feel like, right, there's like some undercurrent that's like you have to say it this way, you have to present it this way, and that both sides, equivalency stuff that they're all beholden to. I think
Yeah.
people are largely really tired of that. And what independent content creators, which we are, and I call myself that now, which I think what they don't have, you and I talked about this, I think, on John Fugelsang's radio show. What they don't have is, big corporate media, big brother looking down on them and saying, no, 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 you didn't hit your talking points. You said this the way you thought it and the way you felt it. And the American people are like, but I think it and feel it like that too. And so I think it was very smart on their part to have those creators there to give an accurate representation of their thoughts and feelings, not what some, corporate entity wanted them to say or wanted us to say. It was, an accurate representation of our experience. And I think that's fantastic. We need more of that.
I like to consider I can kind of consider myself like not the most savvy guy, right? But as far as 56-year-old dads, I feel above average in terms of like sophistication, in terms of uh, knowing about knowing about politics, knowing about presentation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I bring this up because I saw somebody the other day. I think it might have been Scott Jennings, but I'm not 100% sure, saying that they thought that the enthusiasm at the DNC was manufactured.
Huh.
And I took exception to that because like I don't consider myself a rube, right? I know when someone is trying to manipulate me. I don't because I don't know I don't like it. I don't like being
Yeah.
manipulated. I don't like being lied to, right?
Nor
And
do
I
I.
didn't get that sense from this gathering. I thought it was first of all, I thought it was very well structured. I didn't like the like umpteen layers of security. I understand it was necessary, but
Yeah.
that all the layers of security was a hassle. It took
Mhm.
up a significant chunk of my day. Just getting the passes. You
Yeah.
had to go to like a different
Yeah.
building. I had to take an Uber over there, and then I had to go over to the secure to the center and go through all of those hoops. But aside from that, I thought you can't manufacture the kind of enthusiasm like when I'm going back to my hotel at night, I'm heading this way, and I see other people going the opposite direction, and we scream out to each other, "Do something!" as a
Yeah.
callback from, was that Michelle Obama's speech? Do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
manufacture that kind of bullshit. I mean, come
Mm-mm.
on.
No.
So
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because what you were saying about going back after the thing, the best indicator of all, right, that this stuff was real was when people should have been really annoyed because it was really not easy getting out of there because it's like 5 zillion people trying to find buses and Ubers and taxis in
yeah,
their own damn cars, and it was like the Hunger Games, but I don't even know, but a happy one. It should have been people should have been pushing, shoving, complaining, arguing, annoyed. Instead, it was let's chant, let's like sing, let's laugh, let's joke, let's all talk to each other. Somebody falls, a bunch of people are trying to help them up. That's you don't leave a Yankee game like if they lose a Yankee game, you're leaving a Yankee game pissed. You're not walking out
mhm,
like you're like
yeah.
everybody was psyched, even waiting for damn buses in the middle of Busville. That's a pretty good indicator that this was really genuine, authentic joy.
Ooh, I'll tell you this: the last night, where the last night just before Kamala Harris spoke, like so I didn't have a seat on the floor. Like
Right.
I had to take a seat. I just had to figure out how to make that happen. Anyway, I was
You're
there,
good at that.
and I heard people saying that security guards were saying, if you leave to go to the bathroom, cannot guarantee that you'll be allowed back. And I
Yeah.
was like, what?
Yeah.
How are you going to tell a room full of grown folks,
Uh-huh.
many of whom probably do need to go more frequently than the average person,
Yeah.
that they can't go to the bathroom? But
Yeah.
everybody hung in there like, oh, well,
Yep. I mean, if I gotta go in my cup here, I'm going in my cup. But yeah, no,
there
I
it
mean
is.
that happened to me. That happened to me. I didn't pee in my pants or in a cup. Someone very kindly, let's just say, helped me get a floor spot at the end of
Mhm.
one night. And I was like, oh my God. And I went down and I was like, well, this is incredible. And then I had to go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom and I tried to get back in 10 minutes later and like, oh, the floor's closed. I'm like, what? I had no idea. Within 10 minutes. And I was like, oh no. So I had to watch the whole thing on a TV in the arena, which was just
Yeah.
really upsetting.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but you were smart. You were thinking ahead. You were like, I'm gonna get a seat now, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna be here. And meanwhile, I'm like, please let me in. Please.
I thought the whole thing was an amazing experience for me. One of my one of our viewers made a mention about one aspect, but I want to ask you, what were the highlights for you of this DNC?
Well, there's three that stand out. Four. Okay. The first one, yeah, I think you're right, Bernadette. I think that I appreciate that, and you're right. But the first one was I had a lot of emotions going into Joe Biden's speech. I think a lot of us did because I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't want to. It was like, Dad's leaving, like Dad's moving out, like that. Like, oh, how are we gonna have this conversation? I don't want him to go. I don't want to say goodbye. But I think he did it so well, and yeah, it went long. But I think he needed to do. He needed all the time in the world that he got, because I've explained this to you too. What instead of that feeling like the end of something and the start of something beginning and then passing the torch, I know that a lot of people say that, and it is in part true. It felt instead like a continuation of the same thing, like a comma in the middle of a sentence. Like
Hmm.
Joe Biden started this sentence, and there's been sentences that have pre-existed him, but this was his sentence, and that night was a comma so that we could get to the portion of the sentence that Kamala is going to finish, and then so on and so on, and everyone who comes after is going to add a paragraph or a sentence that's just going to be the story of America and how we keep going and growing and changing and evolving and getting closer towards that perfect union. But I think so that was my highlight number one, because I felt really relieved and comforted by him sort of saying, it's okay. Like, you're not dying, you can let go. It's all going to be all right. I'm okay.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. And then obviously Kamala, obviously the Obamas. Oh my God. Jasmine Crockett made me cry. Did not expect that. Like, who expected that?
Hmm.
Girl made me cry. She humanized Kamala in such a way. And then, of course, again, Thursday night when she accepted the nomination, it was impossible not to stand there and feel the history of that moment. You had to take a second and just inhale and just observe all of this. And then the balloons, the balloons, like,
Yeah, the balloons.
right? Like, never in my life have I been excited about any balloon I've ever seen. But it was, and we knew all week for them to drop. We knew when they would, but like seeing it was just a whole nother level.
I wished I could bring some of those big bouncing ones home with me, but
I
they wouldn't
know.
fit into the luggage.
I was worried about y'all down there. I was like, I don't know. I don't see any faces anymore. What happened to them all? It was just balloons.
I threw up this comment from Meredith Powell, who says whoever at the DNC had the idea to turn the state roll call into a rock concert DJ fest should get a huge raise. What do you think about that?
Genius. Everyone's top 5 moment for sure. I mean, that was epic. And now you can't ever go back to a regular roll call ever again. Never.
The Georgia one, absolutely. I was like, what is happening? This was great.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Incredible. I mean, that's the energy that was in there, though. That's the energy. There were dance parties all the time. People were just jumping and dancing and singing and clapping and hugging and kissing and I don't know what else they were doing, but that was the energy in there.
Do you think that enthusiasm, that positive vibe, do you think that carries us forward all the way to election day? Or are we going to need like some kind of other thing to give us a shot in the arm? What do you think?
We're gonna have to work. I mean, this is the cycle of this country, right? Like it's hard to keep anything up for long, pun intended. But for real, I mean, the way things roll. I mean, now we're talking about Trump and the whole Arlington thing, and this is just the way he takes all the oxygen out of the room. I'm not saying he's taking anything away from her necessarily in that momentum, but we got to work to keep it up. Like we got to keep stroking. I mean, we need to lubricate and hydrate because we got to keep riding this thing as long as we can. We got to ride it all the way into November and then some. It needs to make sure that there's no question that she won. So it's not going to do that organically. And I'm looking at her rallies. Like last night, I was looking at that rally and seeing the excitement there. And that's organic.
In Savannah.
Yeah. Which nobody does. Like nobody Democrats ever done that. Like in
Savannah. The last time we had a Democrat carry Georgia was not carry Georgia, but go into Georgia to campaign was Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Back in 1992. That's a fun fact.
Anyway, it's a very fun fact, and it really does speak to what we're looking at here, because she went there because she believes that that part of Georgia is like, look at her a couple times over. I kind of like the way she moves.
So there's two things that accomplishes, right? One is you kind of force your opponent to have to play defense, to spend money where they wouldn't necessarily have been even thinking about spending, because why do I have to defend it? This is already leaning red or whatever. But now they kind of have to defend it. And two, it's a show of strength. It's like it's Kamala saying, "I'm taking your shit, bitch. Now what?"
Yep. She pulled it on the table, and she's like, "Oh, now what?" Yeah, that's what they're not used to, among many other things that they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's genius because it's a flex for sure. But making them spend money in their backyards, like in Florida, making them spend money in Florida to soothe his ego, like that's how you do it.
She's kicking off a bus tour. Did you hear this? She's kicking off a bus tour I think it's starting in Florida.
No way.
Which is kind of wild. It's kind of wild.
That's trolling that goes to 11, right? Like that's what she did with the RNC location in Milwaukee, where she had a bigger crowd than needed.
Can I tell you, every major election cycle, I kind of get it in my head that, oh, maybe we can win Florida. Ooh, maybe we can win Texas, and then reality comes crashing down. But this is a very, very different year. And, I've been paying attention to elections since I was a weird little kid, paying attention to Jimmy Carter's election and all that, and this absolutely feels completely different. So I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but here's something that I want to ask you about that kind of has me a little nervous, and I want you to tell me do I need to be nervous or not?
Okay.
Um, a
Is it a
few
rash?
weeks. What?
Is it a rash?
No, no.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, Donald Trump was at a rally and he called attention to 3 election board workers in Georgia, right? Specifically, I don't remember what their names were.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah, but it's very unusual for any candidate, let alone a presidential candidate, to know the names of 3 different county election workers and then to call them out.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems like a little bit of shenanigans, right? Because these potentially, he said that these 3 are fighting for us. These are the 3 people that are going to certify or not certify the votes for Georgia. Let's say, hypothetically, that Kamala Harris wins Georgia, that she takes Georgia. But those 3 people decide, maybe we're not going to certify.
Yeah.
Should I be worried about this? Should our audience be worried about this?
Worried is one word, but I mean, cognizant, aware,
Concernicus.
Concernicus, awarenicus, watchicus, because the thing we know about them is that if there's an opportunity to cheat, even if there isn't, they'll find one, that all bets are off, right? They can't win by conventional means in most cases. And so they don't try to win by conventional means. They try to win by all sorts of other means, including, making sure that they have these loyalists in place to do things like not certify elections. But that being said, a couple of things that we have to keep reminding ourselves of are the following. Number one, we have Mark Elias out there who's like, I see what you're doing. I'm watching you. And he's ready and he's prepared. And like in Mark Elias, we trust. But also we have we the people, right? Like, so we have we the people who will know that they voted for Kamala. That's my prediction, right? And they will know that what they're doing is shenanigans, and they will. That's why we have to win in numbers big enough too big enough for them to contend that we cheated or anything else, or for them to cheat. But that's the thing. That's what I have the most trust and hope in, is that the people of Georgia or wherever these shenanigan players try to do what they're threatening to do, that the people will say, no. This is not how this works. This is not democracy. We are saying, no, you cannot do this. And that there will be public outcry enough that these guys will be like, oh, shit, I don't want to do this. You want to do this? I don't want to do this. This is my life. My wife is so pissed. She's like not even making me dinner, like that kind of thing. My kids won't talk to me. My dog, ran away like that. I mean, I think we are well past the point where the American people are going to let them get away with this garbage. We have had democracy threatened and undermined and dismantled quite enough. And the appetite, we are not, as Pete Buttigieg said, we are not in the market for what they're selling anymore. And I just think that if they're cheap, we're going to call them out on it. And the public pressure and outcry will be too great for them to manage to maintain it for long. It'll be like Trump with Stormy.
That Mark Elias is something, isn't he?
He really is. He's a superhero in, legalese.
I worry that we can't stretch him too thin. He's just that one guy. Sure, he's got a team, I'm sure. Oh, actually, there is a super PAC I just saw on MSNBC. There's a super PAC that is dedicated to pooling money, to raising money for these post-election fights.
Yeah.
Over, stuff like that, for instance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Mike Johnson did threaten many moons ago that he did say this will be settled in the courts. It'll be settled judicially. And I was like, no, it won't. It'll be settled at the polls, my friend.
Zelda, my friend, thank you so kindly for the kind donation. Thank you for supporting this channel. We love you.
That's awesome.
And I want to discuss with you now this interview from last night. This was a highly anticipated, and it was already being criticized before. First, they were criticizing Kamala for not agreeing to an interview. Oh, she's hiding. She's hiding from an interview. She can't complete a sentence.
Right.
Then she agreed to the interview, right? but they criticize her for taking it on CNN and not Fox News. Then they criticize her, but really CNN is kind of like Fox News light anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, then
Amen
they
to that.
criticized her for doing the interview with Tim Walz. Did you have an issue with this?
Me? No. I
Yeah.
mean, no, because as we've seen time and time and time again, including John McCain with Sarah Palin, this is a thing that they do. This is the thing. And she is not an unknown entity. She didn't just fall out of a coconut tree, okay? This is our vice president. She was a senator. She was AG. She's been around. People know her. They're familiar with her. It is weird that there's an Michelle Obama, Joe Biden picture in that mix, but it's kind of funny too. I mean, they're great, right? Like, so I love that they did it. And look, what a smoke show, right? Like, Jill,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God. I mean, look at those guns. She's bringing it. But like, I mean, no, I don't have a problem with it. And it's just manufactured bullshit. And it just shows you that they don't have anything. They have nothing. But Shapiro's like, she looked down. Or no, Matt Gaetz. She looked down too many times. That's not a leader. I mean, yeah, look, again.
Wait, who said that?
Yeah, there's Mike Pence. I mean, fucking Dick Cheney. Give me a break. So what I said today, I tweeted this. During her interview last night, Kamala Harris could have spoken fluently in 12 languages, mapped out a plausible theory for time travel, recited the Magna Carta word for word, and expertly trussed a chicken, all while doing a handstand, and MAGA would have felt a failure. It's just true. I mean, honestly, the woman could have knit an entire sailboat sail and then flown it to outer space where she would retrieve Donald Trump's NFT cards and brought them back to Earth, but she would turn into a phoenix at the same time, all while answering in Yiddish, and they would be like, no, it's just not, I'm not sold. I don't know. She's overrated. Stop.
Yeah, they were making it. First of all, I think they were going to make a big deal out of anything. Yeah. Anything. If she wore a blue dress, they'd say, "Ah, should have worn a red dress." If she wore a red dress, oh, why didn't she wear a blue dress? Yeah. Right. But I thought it was actually at first when I saw that she was bringing Tim Walz with her, I thought, okay, well, she's clearly inviting some controversy. And then I thought, wait a second, she's got the guy, right? Like, I thought her selection of Tim Walz was brilliant, was genius. And if you make an excellent pick, especially when contrasted with the disaster that is JD Vance, why wouldn't you show that pick off? Of course you would. Exactly. Showcase it.
1,000%. It's like the best side dish you ever had at a barbecue in your life. Like, you're the ribs and he's the collard greens and the mashed potatoes and the mac and cheese. Like, he's all the best side dishes and he just makes the ribs taste all that much better. Yeah.
First, A, this is proof of my excellent decision making, but B, check out our rapport. Check out how well we work together. This is the team. This is the team that you're going to be looking at for the next 4 years. Listen to the nice, smooth baritone sounds of Governor Tim Walz.
And to the point that I made about, she's not an unknown entity, to very many Americans, he still is. He really is. Like, I mean, I didn't know much about him other than that he wanted to feed to hungry kids in his schools up until he was the pick. I knew, he was a decent guy, reminded me of like a mayor of some sweet, adorable town in like Whoville. But I didn't know much about him, and the American people may have missed his incredible speech at the DNC, or they may have seen it and now they're Tim curious. But I think it is important and incumbent upon her to introduce him to the American people as much as possible, because he is this huge component of the ticket that brings that familiar, like that father, grandfather, not I'm saying he's not old, because he's in my dating pool, which is really sad but true. Like, he brings that sort of comforting component to this ticket that was not necessarily in all of the other vice presidential candidates. And I think introducing him to the American people is massively important and hugely helpful. And again, why wouldn't you show him off? And she is not, some people don't know all the ins and outs of her, but she is not some enigma. It's like, Trump's like, who is Harris? It's like, really? We've known her for quite a long time. But I think everyone who's making something out of this, first of all, it's ridiculous. It's manufactured outrage and all of those things. But at the same time, the media playing into it and making this seem like a semi-normal election when this is supposed to be a make or break moment when she's running against a convicted felon, adjudicated rapist who is literally indicted as we speak for trying to overturn the last election through violence and through a coup. And this is a guy who kept our nuclear secrets in his bathroom. This is a guy who wanted his VP hanged. This is a guy, again, who's been found liable of sexual abuse and business fraud. There's still outstanding indictments in multiple states and in the federal government. And they're like, oh, but this one interview, make or break, the stakes couldn't be higher. It's like, stop. She's not running against Jeb Bush. Like she could say, I don't even know, I ate a box of cardboard and enjoyed it, and it would not be even close to what we're talking about on the other side. So the media is responsible for doing some dumb stuff there.
I agree with you. I think that there is, I think there's way too much importance being placed on every single appearance, every utterance, every interview. However, we do have to take into consideration that because she has been elevated into this position as the party's front runner with only 70 plus days left to the election, there's like a time dilation effect. Like everything is like that much more crucial, especially if you consider a significant portion of the country does not yet know her.
Right.
Excuse me.
I agree. It's all compressed into a smaller amount of time. But yeah. They have to stop framing it though as like normal. I think they just keep normalizing Trump's stuff and still really harping on hers, which feels like a inadequacy to me.
I'm glad you phrased it that way because a lot of people were kind of criticizing, rightly, I think, criticizing Dana Bash for phrasing a lot of her questions with like a MAGA filter. And there was one in particular that really kind of pissed me off. And I'm going to share that with you. Let's see. Let me share my screen. I'm going to throw this video up there. And I think this is it. Wait. No, there it is. Okay, it was this bullshit. Here, hang on.
He suggested that you happened to turn Black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. He suggested.
I thought that was a pitch perfect answer.
Yep.
What's your take on that?
She did exactly what you're supposed to do because she didn't want to further amplify it and dignify it with her answer. So on its face, ridiculous that her even dignifying it with any sort of attempt at a responsible answer would have been feeding into what he wants, right? This is a narcissist. He wants to manipulate. He wants to take the oxygen out of the room. Dana shouldn't have even. Dana was going for a sound clip. I get it. Whatever. Soundbite or whatever. But
Joe, can I tell you how much it pissed me off that Dana said, "That's it"? I was like, I wished I could stick my head into the screen and yell in her face, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, right, to downplay it and diminish it because it was actually perfect. But you're right. And we're talking about the same Dana who, by the way, was very generous with Donald Trump at the debate when he spewed nothing but a constant harangue and like stream of bullshit. And nobody pushed back, including Dana Bash. And so to be like, I'm really expecting more of an answer from you on this ridiculous notion that you just turned Black when you stop. Like that's the double standard. That's the thing I'm talking about. And that's another thing that goes all the way back to content creators who are not beholden to that machinery of feeding big corporate media money and making sure this is a horse race. That's when you go back to that. And that's why a lot of people are turned off by this shit. They're like, come on, stop. You don't have to be biased. You have to be fair. And that bullshit wasn't fair. And it wasn't fair in the debate. So I think people are pretty sick and tired of it.
What did you overall? What did you think of Kamala Harris's performance? If you had to give it a letter grade,
Okay. Well, I'd give it a a solid B plus, honestly, because it was a good sort of first swing. It was a very safe swing. She wasn't hitting, she wasn't swinging at a fastball, aiming for the fences. She's probably just trying to get maybe on base with like a little blooper, out there in between.
you with the baseball analogy.
I'm not such a big dork with metaphors. I will mix my metaphors all day long. Believe me. Eventually, I'll get to some kind of an ice cream comparison. It's just inevitable. But I think she was just like, I want to get on base. I want to get on base. Let's get a solid, RBI here. And I think that's what she did. I mean, she has to. These are introductions to the masses, right? Like she can't say anything crazy, hair on fire. We don't want anything extreme. We want to get to know her. She said smart things like my core principles haven't changed. Who I am hasn't changed. Some things have been nuanced a little bit by my experience as vice president, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a strong position to take when you say, oh no, nothing about me has ever changed ever. I have the exact same positions I've always had. That's not a great idea. But if you say but your core is the same and those other things have sort of evolved, that's really smart. And a lot of people could be like, I think that's a position of strength when you can admit that, some of the positions you may have taken in the past for whatever reason have evolved and look a little bit differently. Now we're talking, by the way, about a woman who's running against a guy who every other day says something completely different about abortion. Like, oh, I don't believe it should be 6 weeks isn't enough. And then I'm going to vote against the referendum that expands it past 6 weeks. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, let's do this to both sides, and they're like, what you used to say about fracking. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but fracking is keeping you up at night. No offense to people in Pennsylvania. I understand this is near and dear to your heart, but if it's keeping you up at night versus my daughter is going to have to, God forbid, go into a closet and use a coat hanger because she got pregnant in 4 years. Like, I'm sorry, but I just don't see the equivalency there. So I think she handled it very well. I think Tim is adorable and lovable. And I think he handled the stupid questions about his stolen valor very well by saying what he won't do is go after Vance for his service. And by the way, Vance was in a war zone. He never had to leave the base he was on to go out into the war zone. So if we're going to diminish his service, which I don't want to, because I understand that it is something that we should honor, but I am not running for vice president. And so I can be a bitch. And if Vance is going to drag another person for their service when his service is hardly, the most valorous of all time, I think that it's ridiculous. And Tim Walz handled that well. He's taking the high road. And I think that's great. So I think that was a strong point too.
Let me play another clip for you here.
President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. So, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
With the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down. Instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
That is probably one of my most favorite things that she has said since she started running for this. You know, the true measure of strength is not who you can put down, but who you can lift up. That's fucking brilliant, I think.
It's brilliant, and it explains so much of why this is so magical and so special and so unique, and why that energy is not being manufactured. Because again, she's right. And yes, she and Biden have been in office for the last 3.5 years, and yes, there is this notion of his administration being this healing moment, right? This sort of transition from all of that darkness and all of that negative energy and all of that punching down and all of the degradation of others for everything about them that is not who we are. It's antithetical to who we are, like feeding of our demons instead of our better angels. The American people are tired of it. They're exhausted by it. They're so sick of it. And what Biden sort of helped us again heal. And I just want to add one other thing, because I think this is important. She never says that he wasn't fit for the job. She never says that he wasn't up to continuing the job. And no one has ever actually said, he's never said that. In fact, he believes he was. But what he also believed, which makes him so unique and so singular and so historic, is that he believes that maybe in this moment in time, there is someone better. There is someone better to finish that sentence. And he's strong enough and resolute enough and good enough and decent enough and smart enough to actually let somebody else finish that sentence for him when no other person would have checked their own ego in such a way. No other person would have stepped aside in such a way. That is the true measure of leadership. I mean, that kind of selflessness to me is indicative of the fact that he was not only able to continue and finish the job, that he would have been an incredibly consequential president still. And now he's more consequential than ever because of this move. But yeah, appealing to our better angels, lifting people up, inspiring people, giving them something to believe in and vote for, which is where the American people are. We have a whole lot of tyranny of the minority going on in this country through a whole lot of different things. You look at the Supreme Court, you look at gerrymandering, you look at the Electoral College. The people in this country are largely not represented by our institutions, and that's just something we have to fix. So that's why a lot of people are feeling like, I'm looking around going, this doesn't feel like what I want. That's what we've been living and enduring for nearly a decade. And she is coming along, and Tim Walz with her, to say, I see you. It's not what this isn't the country that you're looking at. I know what's in your heart. I know where you all are, and I want to be the person to carry that forward. And I really think that that's part of the magic, and it's part of why this is taken off like wildfire.
Yeah, there definitely is, I would say, a stark difference when you listen to Kamala Harris speak, whether she's speaking to an interviewer or whether she's at one of her rallies, right? At her rallies, I've heard her say some of the same things over, but that's obvious because that's part of her stump speech, as they say.
Yeah.
You listen to Donald Trump talk. He speaks in such negative, denigrating tones. And when I say negative, I mean like trash. He just like, oh, she's so dumb. She's so stupid. Really? I mean, like, he doesn't sound presidential at all to me. He doesn't sound like a thinker. He doesn't sound, he's not elevating anyone in that room there when, and the difference with Kamala Harris is that she is not speaking negatively. If she does speak negatively about her opponent, it's not a personal attack.
Yeah.
It's an attack that, this person is trying to deny us freedom. Yeah. And we're turning the page on that. And she absolutely elevates the discourse there.
Yeah. I mean, he has the vocabulary of a truck stop urinal cake, really. I mean, like that might even be setting the bar too high. But that's the thing. Again, that was the appeal. I mean, he was like, he appealed to the basest parts of people's, let's say, humanity. And I think that has an expiration date because he says things like we're a failing nation, and it's this is a hellscape, and our cities are falling apart, and none of those things are true. But also, I don't want somebody to tell me my country sucks. I don't believe my country sucks. And that's the other thing. We reclaimed patriotism at the DNC. I mean, there was so much of it everywhere. And she said it. I love my country. She said that, and I was like, yes, I
Yeah.
love my country, and that's why
Yeah.
the way you love your country the most is you want to help her, you want to improve her, you want to move her forward, you want to value the things that really help the American people to make us all a stronger country, and that's what she was giving us. And so many people want that right now. So many people are hungry for that right now.
What's the deal with the obsession with Kamala Harris? They're like trying to find why she didn't list her job at McDonald's on her resume. I mean, what?
Right. I mean, okay.
Is that where we are right now? Is that it?
Yes. That's where we are. But they have nothing. So they're like, I didn't find any reference in her book. Why didn't she put that on her resume? It's like, yeah, okay. Everybody out there. And by the way, my trolls love to troll me for working at Sizzler, which I thought was an incredible experience. The first time I ever waited, I got to be the kale person on the garnish of the plate. I was like, this is awesome. I loved it. I learned how to wait tables. Everyone in this country should wait tables or work in a restaurant at least for some period of time. I'm super proud of that. But Sizzler's not on my resume. I don't think Sizzler's been on my resume since I was probably about 22, when it was like the first job out of 4 I had. Like, I worked at a snack bar at a campground that was literally out of Deliverance. I'm pretty sure deep frying hot dogs wasn't one of the skills I listed, and I did not put a Gomer beard face on my list of references. It's ridiculous. And by the way,
Right.
Tommy Lauren, who I call Tammy, who loves to bring this McDonald's thing up, which is a tell on herself, by the way. Talk about classes. She doesn't have on her resume the fact that she had an amosexual sports Spanx line that was supposed to be all American, and guess what? Got shut down, or she shut it down voluntarily, because it was made not in America. Where's that on your resume, Tammy? I don't see it anywhere. Funny, huh?
Bring those receipts.
That's right. That's what we do. It's Jersey. We know. You're from New York. We know.
Well, speaking of receipts, here's another one here. Tim Walz, obviously, they caught him. They busted him. They said that he was with his dog at the dog park, but clearly that's not his dog. It is another dog. You mean to say there was other dogs at the dog park?
We're talking again about a party who's, melted circus peanut messiah cheated on his first wife with his second wife, who cheated on with his third wife, who cheated on with no less than a porn star and a playmate, and God knows who else. And he tried to move on some bitch he talked about on the Access Hollywood tape. And we're going to go after Tim Walz for showing some, dog love to other dogs. First of all, he loves dogs, which I feel like is a really good thing as a dog
lover.
Plus.
That's a
right?
plus.
We went through a Trump administration where the dude freaking hates dogs and described everything bad as like a dog, fired like a dog, killed like a dog, hunted like a dog. Like, I don't even know what else like a dog, like married. I mean, just everything like a dog that was discriminatory. But and he pet them. Dirty boy. I mean, it's not like you're rubbing the butt of your daughter. It's a strange. That's dog strange. What are you doing, Tim? I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. What, you're throwing a toy, the same toy? Has it been in multiple dogs' mouths? Dog slut. Seriously, can we just stop? This is because they have nothing. McDonald's and dogmosexuals. I don't even know. Like, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
It really is kind of funny. Like, you couldn't possibly script. Like, did you ever watch? There was a cartoon. It was called Stop That Pigeon, and there was the bad guy was the Snidely Whiplash. He had like like a pencil thin curly mustache, and he had the dog. What was the dog's name? But the dog was like.
Oh, okay. I don't know which dog you're talking about, but I didn't know it was called. I didn't know it was called Stop That Pigeon.
Yeah, I mean there were several shows involving those two, but. This Republican Party and Donald Trump and his team, more specifically, seem like that that dastardly duo that spends more time coming up with dumb, evil schemes than just guys, put the same amount of energy that you put into like your dirty tricks into running a halfway decent campaign, and then
Yeah.
you won't have to level accusations of they're cheating. Like,
Right.
stop doing things to like hurt yourself. Stop telling your followers, for instance, we don't need any more votes. Did you hear this?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't need any. Like, when I first time I heard that, it's like, what stupid motherfucker tells people we don't need any more votes?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the stupid motherfucker, right? The same stupid motherfucker who says you'd have to be really stupid to say that our fallen heroes of war were suckers and losers. And it's like, you think? Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I don't think they have another gear because there's just nothing there. They don't have any real substance. They're not motivated by anything that's real. They don't have any agendas that are real other than making sure that the richest people in this country stay the richest people in this country and making sure that the rest of us have no rights. I mean, other than that, they're not for anything. Yeah, Muttley, right.
Dick
So
Dastardly and
I know
Muttley.
there was some show where there was a whole bunch of characters and they had a race. Maybe I'm completely confused.
Wacky races.
That's it. That's it. Okay.
Can I
know.
tell you how great my audience is? Like, they're
Awesome.
always like providing the details. Always.
Who needs the internet? Who needs to squeeze information out of the sky like I did yesterday to prove to someone that Deborah Winger was the voice of ET when he didn't believe me, and it's true.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Shocking.
For real?
Shocking.
Wow, I didn't know that.
50 years. Well, now you know.
That's wild. That's
Nobody
wild.
talks about it. Why? Why don't we talk about that? Why is that some weird kept secret? Why? People should know. I mean, I don't know. ED go home. Yeah, phone home. ED phone home. Deborah Winger.
Meanwhile,
Anyway.
can we talk a little bit about the the disparity between the vice presidential picks, right? I feel like Don Old must be suffering some VP envy right now because Tim Walz is like everything you want in the VP pick. Like, he wears those Carhartt jackets with authenticity. He actually is comfortable in his own skin. When he talks to people, like, they want to hear what he has to say. They seem to like him. Pretty much everybody he runs into likes him. Whereas JD Vance, you know, he would have done better if you had asked him to solve like a 16-sided Rubik's Cube than to just order some donuts and appear to be a normal person.
So awkward.
We
do normal people donut
order. Man, it's a comedy of errors with that guy.
And that happened when we were at the DNC, and I missed a lot of it. And then my nephew caught me up on it, and I was like, whatever makes sense. Who says that at a donut place? Whatever makes sense in my donut box? What makes sense? Donuts don't make sense. There's no variety that makes sense. Like, makes sense. It's all jelly filled. I don't know what makes sense. No one says that. No one.
So you work here? How long have you worked here? Good. How about you? You work here? How long have you worked here? Good. Yeah.
My favorite part. I'm literally burning. I'm laughing. He goes, I'm a vice presidential candidate, and they go, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I go, I don't want to be on camera. It's like, this one doesn't want. They don't want to be on. That's okay. You don't be on camera.
Cut her out of everything. Cut her.
Karen haircut. It's like a weird fade. I don't even know what it is. And whatever makes sense. Tell me you've never ordered donuts in your fucking life that you say whatever makes sense. Yeah, he makes pudding finger banger look normal by comparison. Yeah. And that guy fingered banged pudding cups. Okay. I'm not saying it in past tense because I don't know that it's still not happening. I'm gonna guess he's got probably more of that under his belt since he bowed out. But yeah. Jimmy,
crazy.
Ted Cruz looked likable. Okay. That's how bad Jimmy was. JD Vance makes you want to hang out with Stephen Miller for the conversation. Okay, he makes Steve Bannon look charming.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would sooner date Marjorie Taylor Greene than JD Vance. Honestly,
Oof.
I mean,
Oof.
I don't. Well, okay, I take that.
Really?
Back. I feel a little bit sick now that I said that.
That's extreme.
Okay.
That's
I have
too
to
extreme.
picture my grandmother getting out of the bathtub now that I said that. Hold on, give me a second. Better mental image. Okay, sorry, I digress.
So, because of the comedy of errors, because of the groundswell of positive vibes, I guess, for Kamala Harris, she does now appear to be in a commanding positive position where just about every poll I have seen has her either tied or leading Donald Trump in all of the major swing states.
Yeah.
And before I forget, thank you for the reminder, Michelle. Please do not forget to smash that like button. Smash it now and smash it often. Or
smash
something.
it hard. Smash it like JD would smash a couch cushion.
How much are you reading into these polls, these poll results?
Well, I tend to not put a whole lot of stock in them just because I don't know the means, I don't know the sample audience, I don't know how, there's a lot of variables I don't know. But I also don't necessarily trust that a lot of people are being honest with pollsters. I just think that there's a larger secret vote going on here where people aren't. A lot of people were like, well, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do. And I know what I'm going to do. But when I get into that polling booth, I'm going to, put Kamala's name down. I'm going to pick her, even though publicly I would never say that. And I think that's a number that is going to be very surprisingly large because I think a lot of people are actually really there. And I can speak to that a little bit personally because someone I'm very close to, hadn't seen in a little while, recently sort of ushered me to.
Are you saying that there are people who are not comfortable sharing with a pollster that they want to vote for Kamala?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who won't even say that publicly, who are publicly facing Trump voter, but they just don't want that out there that they would vote for Kamala. They don't want anyone to know.
Oh, interesting.
And that close to the vest. I can speak to it because someone that I'm very close to, I hadn't seen in a little while, sort of ushered me toward themselves recently, and in a hushed tone, revealed that they would be voting for her. And it would be surprising if you were looking at the demographic that this person represents on paper. So I think that there's a lot of that. And I think when I learned that one of the most Googled searches was, how is my vote secret? How do I keep my vote secret? Recently, to me, that's very telling because I think a lot of people are really hoping that they can go into that, and they can go into that voting booth and they can vote their conscience, and that it's not going to come back to bite them in the ass in some way in their families or in their communities or at the PTA or wherever. Your vote is yours. It is just for you. It is your information. It is your choice. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And so, yeah, go in there and vote your conscience and tell people whatever you want to tell them in the meantime.
I go back and forth a lot with feelings of like an overabundance of hope and positive thinking, and feeling like sometimes I feel like, oh shit, it's going to be a landslide, and other times I'm terrified because, especially when you said that people are looking up, is my vote going to be secret? Because the first time around, 2016, a lot of pollsters got it wrong.
Yeah.
And what was at work there, more often than not, was that people were ashamed to admit that despite all of his faults, they were still going to cast a vote for Donald Trump anyway. Now, since then, I've seen plenty of people who not only are not ashamed, but like will actually go on TV, go on video and admit, I was a Trump supporter. I voted for Trump in the last 2 or 3 elections, and I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I've seen more of that than I saw in 2020. I'm seeing it now.
Well, also, we have now what we didn't have, 2 things in the rearview mirror that we didn't have in 2020. First of which is January 6th, right? That was a deal breaker, whether they whitewash it or not, whether they want the American people to believe that those criminals and attackers and terrorists were patriots or not. The American people have that in their rearview mirror now, and it was scarring. It was jarring. I don't have to tell everybody, what you felt that watching that unfold. You're never going to forget it. And so that's in our rearview mirrors, and a lot of people have really forever moved away from him because of it. But the other one is Dobbs. Dobbs is in our rearview mirror now, and it wasn't in our rearview mirror in 2020. And when we used to hypothesize and pontificate and consider that there might be a potential threat on the horizon of Roe being overturned, it was just that. It was hypothesizing. It was not a reality. And so the Republicans could very much run on making it a reality, and the Democrats didn't have that advantage, I hate saying, didn't have the advantage of being able to say, look what happened. And now, sadly, we can say this isn't just us being hyperbolic. This is, first of all, this happened. Second of all, it's just the beginning. We can tell you that concretely now. And I think a lot of people are being motivated by just how definitive that was as a sort of slap in the face or punch in the gut. Like, oh shit, I need to wake up. This is real. It's gotten very real now. It's real for my family. It's real for me. I think that's a huge difference maker too, that we just didn't have on the board in 2020, and we do now.
Great points. Great points. Both Dobbs and January 6th. Although I fear that people are trying to memory hole January 6th in the same way that they've tried to memory hole, but we're not letting them get away with Donald Trump botching the response to COVID, right? That is 100% absolutely part of his track record, and it cannot be memory hold. It was his last year in office, and it was the biggest thing that happened this century.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was COVID and losing all those people, losing 3 million jobs. No other president has done that since Herbert Hoover back in the, was it 20s, 1920s?
Yeah, it was the Great Depression. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the January 6th thing, people have tried to say, we're past that, but we're not past it. We're not past it if he's saying, I'm going to pardon these people who beat and abuse Capitol police officers, people who tried to overturn our election results.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we just, these are the same people who haven't gotten over being called a basket of deplorables. Okay. They literally wear that as like this, this cone of shame, and it's ridiculous. But yes, and it's true about national trauma, and it doesn't dissipate. It does this other thing where it kind of metastasizes and it turns into other things, and you don't realize that it's sitting there sometimes, and then all of a sudden it gurgles up, and then it's like, oh God. And I think looking back at the pandemic and seeing some numbers that sort of indicate that because we have the worst response in the world, thanks to Donald Trump's literal botching of it. Not only that, but he weaponized it too. Here JB Pritzker talking about how he was on the phone with him trying to get PPE, trying to get equipment, trying to get masks, trying to get anything for the hospitals. And Trump was like, you need to be nice to me.
I remember that.
And he was like, and JD Pritzker is not too proud. This is an heir of like billions of dollars. He's not too proud to be like, okay, can I please have masks for my people? Pretty please, sir. Like, that's the kind of up shit he did. And by the way, not only did he botch it, he didn't care. He went golfing when we hit, I think, 50,000 deaths. When we hit 1,000 deaths a day, Jonathan Swan asked him about it. And he said, it is what it is. He said, it is what it is. Refrigerator trucks were filling up with the bodies of our fellow citizens, grandmothers, grandfathers, my friends' father died, and he got a phone call from the nursing home that said, your dad died. You're the one person can come to claim him. You can't have a funeral. You can't obviously say goodbye. He's in a body bag already. That's the kind of shit that Donald Trump didn't care about. And I'm not going to memory hold that. You bet your ass. And no, we weren't better off 4 years ago. He was already shitting the bed before the pandemic, by the way, because he added that stupid tax cut for the trillionaires, which added $7.8, arguably $8 trillion to our national debt, which is the third largest increase relative to the economy in our country's history. And you already shit the bed on manufacturing, all of this before the pandemic. So no, things were not better. And when they point to gas prices, I want to scream and pull my hair out and throw something out the window. Gas prices were so low because 1,000 of us plus were dying a day. Nobody was driving the fuck anywhere. So it was $1.80 raised gas prices, you dumb fucks. I'm sorry. This one gets me really upset. No, we
Mhm.
were better off 4 years ago. We were
Yeah.
far better off. And then he wouldn't even help push the freaking vaccine that was invented and created during his administration. When the one thing he could arguably say, I kind of tangentially had a role in, he won't even claim that.
He politicized it. Yeah.
Yes, and got people killed. Lots of them, and mostly Republicans. Really.
Mhm.
And doesn't care. He doesn't care. Oh, that one too. Oh, BDD, now you're really making me mad.
Sorry.
is
We got to
like-
talk about this.
We
So
gotta
this
talk about
is this is something that normally would have already passed through the news cycle. I think this happened 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago?
Yeah, it might be 2 or 3. Yeah, definitely 2.
Yeah.
At least.
I don't think he should get a pass on any of these things, because it's indicative of his disrespect to our military, but it's also indicative of his mindset, right?
Mhm.
He cares so little for tradition. He cares so little for rules and regulations that he cannot even adhere to them at one of our most sacred burial grounds, right?
Mhm.
You're just going to
Mhm.
shit on the rules, the traditions, and the laws that dictate you may not do political filming or photography in this space.
Right.
And then what does he do? Here. This, you have to see this. You may or may not have already seen this bullshit, but it's infuriating. Hang on. How he just completely abdicates all responsibility
to the family.
Not just the family. Check this out.
Should your campaign have put out those videos and photos?
Well, we have a lot of people. We have people, TikTok people. We're leading the internet. That was the other thing. We're
so he drops a humble brag there about we're leading the internet.
Far above her on the
but
internet.
on that hallowed ground, should they have put out
I don't
the
know what
images
the rules
of those?
and regulations.
Oh, I don't know the rules and the regulations. I'm just a little old man that's all powerful, but I know nothing.
So I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents.
It could have been a 400-pound guy in his mother's basement.
Mm-hmm.
Been somebody.
It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it. All I do is I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture. If somebody did it, this was a setup by the people in the administration that, Trump is coming to Arlington. That looks so bad for us.
What?
Discuss.
He on fire, right? Okay. So much to unpack. First of all, they brought the freaking camera crews. They did. It's not like, and I will not disparage those Gold Star families. That is their right to ask whomever they'd like to attend, the services with them. That is their 1000% right. I will not attack them for that. So I'm not touching that. But I will say that again, he brought the camera crews. They went there intending to create campaign content. And if you tell me you don't know the rules, when that staffer approached your campaign staff and said, excuse me, these are the rules. This is against the law. This is hallowed ground. This is a sacred shrine, our arguably most sacred shrine in the United States. This is where our warriors were laid to their final rest. This is this place where 400,000 plus soldiers and their families are laid to their final rest. It is. He literally trampled on their graves and desecrated their graves, and to be so unapologetic about it. But when that staffer approached them and said, these are the rules, you can't do this, implored them not to do it, and they literally pushed her aside, and then had the audacity now to attack her. And on top of that, this monster wants to be commander-in-chief, and this staffer who protected and defended our fallen soldiers is so afraid to stand up against that desecration because she's afraid that they'll turn on her and attack her or harm her or her loved ones. That person, that I can't even call him a person, again, monster, has no business anywhere near those graves, first of all. Again, the Gold Star family that wanted him there, that is their right. But if you ask me, he has no business being there. He certainly has no business being our commander-in-chief. And this one of all, I think one of the reasons this one is sticking around as long as it is because this is a sort of a culmination of so many slights and affronts and insults that he has hurled at our men and women in uniform, that after the Medal of Honor comment about how it's not as good as the Medal of Freedom and it's disgusting, and he said because the Medal of Honor recipients are largely dead, and then to go and knowing all his amputee comments that John Kelly needs to say on video, by the way, not just to the press, on record, knowing all that, the culmination of that, to walk on their graves without the right or the permission to do it, and then to use that, these soldier heroes that he has nothing but disdain for, to use it to benefit himself politically. I think that far too many people have had enough, and this one really crossed a line for a lot. And I heard it from Mikey Sherrill, who said she's hearing it from her constituents across the political spectrum. This one, exactly. And the stupid smile. Oh, that's, yeah. I mean, right. Yeah. Even again, but those people didn't sign up to protect us. That's the other part, right? And that's what he hates. That's what he hates. That they had something that was bigger than themselves, that they wanted to work for, that they would sacrifice for, something larger than their own immediate needs and wants. He cannot understand that, so he hates it. He thinks it's weak. So he hates them. He sees them as weak because he doesn't understand how anybody could be so selfless, because it's just not who he is. And so he walks across their graves with his thumbs up and his giant stupid smile for a freaking campaign ad. And a lot of people are really pissed off, and rightfully so. I will not. I refuse to get over this or look past it or move on from it. I refuse. It's all part of the same goddamn thing he's been doing forever. And I'm right, LB. I'm fucking done. And I didn't serve. And I have many siblings and many loved ones who did. And I have nothing but reverence for their service and for their sacrifice. My father, 50-year DOD employee. I basically grew up on an Army base. And this is just not who we are. We are better than this. And if we're not better than this, we need to try harder, because we need to be better than this.
Damn Skippy.
No.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. People are mad. People are, and rightfully so. This is bad. This is bad.
Yeah. And what makes it even more obscene is that he's himself is a draft dodger.
Exactly.
And the whole background about him saying suckers and losers. How can you doubt that now? He shows no respect whatsoever. He told us all to our faces, I don't think he's a hero. He's not a hero because he was captured.
Bingo.
You don't believe the words that are coming out of his goddamn mouth. They've got themselves into this crazy loop, this crazy, I don't know what you call it. It's like a logic loop where
like a mouse wheel.
Yeah, where anytime he says something that is batshit crazy or offensive or stupid, they twist themselves into a pretzel to rationalize it away into well, that's not what he meant. What he actually meant was,
Right. No, and I think the expiration date on that has passed.
I'm so sick of it. It's exhausting.
Yep.
Speaking of exhausting, I got to talk about for a minute about have you noticed an uptick in trolls on Twitter recently, specifically?
I can't say, like, I don't know, because ever since Elon took over, like it's just totally.
Nah, I'm just saying in the past week.
I mean, you and I have the same luck where our replies are largely like, it's like if you tweet it, they will come, and it's just like right, like it's just like bots to the flame. They just appear, and it's all the same horrible like Hojo shit. But I don't know that I've noticed a precipitous uptick. I guess what I try and do as much as possible is scroll through them all to get to the ones that are like people really trying to comment. So maybe, but I'm just used to scrolling.
So that's the thing for me. I do my best not to engage, right? Every once in a while I fall into the trap where, like I definitely don't engage with the ones that are posting just vile, stupid memes, or will just flat out say, "Oh, did you sell your kids for crack today?" Like, no, I don't engage with them at all. But every once in a while, I'll get someone who will give me something meaty that I can debate with that I shouldn't. I shouldn't, and people remind me, like, after I did BDD, he's only got like 15 followers, and he's a bot, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yeah.
when you, on face value, you look at it and it seems like, well, let me disabuse you of that erroneous notion, and then I'll spend like 3 or 4 paragraphs explaining why they are wrong, and then it's such a waste of my time and energy.
Well, that's right. Well, that's the thing, right? So that's the goal, is to get us off of the productive work. I believe it is productive. I truly do, of countering their knowledge and not ceding, counting their information and not ceding that ground to them. So what they do is, if they capitalize on getting our attention, then they've taken us off of, our eye off the prize. Every now and then, if one of them sells something wrong, like yours, YORE, I'll be like, then I'll engage and say it's just your. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to engage. It's hard not to answer them back. It's hard because that they're being ridiculous, but at the same time, you've sort of like done the work already, dismantling whatever bullshit they want to say by just tweeting the facts. And so just kind of like drop a mic and walk away. That's how I see it.
I do have to mention it's a troll who paid a super chat just so he could share his comment. And I'm not even going to read the comment. It's there about, I don't know, a minute or two ago. But yeah, I'm not going to pay it any mind, but he has paid. So
wow. Yeah.
Say goodbye to your money, sucker. And no, I won't be using that for crack. I've been clean and sober 21 years.
Right,
so
exactly,
I'll probably donate it to the Kamala Harris campaign.
There you go. That's
Thank you for your donation to the Harris campaign.
Seriously. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Love it.
Yes, somebody donated $5 to me on Venmo or PayPal or some shit and just said, like, you're a hoe. I was like, thanks. Okay. I'll just put that in my hoe jar for later hoeing.
Michelle, thank you so kindly for the kind donation. Thank you. This is very generous of you. Appreciate it.
Very nice.
So Joe, I know you have to go. I can't hold you up. I know you got to pick up your son there. Before you bounce, I just wanted to share the latest update on The Bigliest Liar. I do have some sketches of some of the interior pages. These are not fully colored yet. This is one that shows COVID. It shows Spanky with his fingers in his ears, blocking the advice of, that's Dr. Fauci on the right, and that's Dr. Scarf, Dr. Birx on the left. I got to tell you, the artist that I'm working on is fantastic. He's phenomenal. Yeah. John Kelly
captures them all perfectly.
Here's another COVID page here as the number of COVID cases rose. Spanky told them to slow the testing down. He was afraid numbers would make him look bad. He said, you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0. But 15 became 1,500, and then 15,000, and then 150,000. Spanky was bad at math. And here is Spanky getting his ass kicked in that debate against Joe Biden, where you can see he beat him so bad. Joe Biden beat him so badly that Spanky caught COVID. And there he's getting his ass beaten by both Joe and the COVID.
I like the little stairs. That's funny. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could have given Joe COVID. He almost killed Chris Christie with that COVID. Dumb
This is true. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Joe, please tell our audience where they can find you.
Well, they can find me picking my son up from work in about 5 minutes, but they can also find me on my toe fetish OnlyFans, which is www.suckyourdigits.com. I think that's an onlyfans.com. I'm kidding. I don't really have that one yet. But if that domain name is available, grab it. snatch it up. For real, I'm on Twitter, Jojo from Jers. I'm on Instagram. There's a dot in between the Jojo and the from Jers. I have my Substack that was called Are You Effing Kidding Me? That's my baby. And I also have my podcast of the same name. Jasmine Crockett is my guest tomorrow. No small flex there. And yeah, I'm all over the place. YouTube, on Political Voices Network, et cetera, et cetera. And look for me soon. I'm working on BDD to do a show with me. I put that out there. Yes, I did. I put it into the universe. I think we should work together at least sometimes. I think it would be awesome, a lot of fun, and I think our trolls would lose their minds.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that, you guys. Things are happening.
Scooping on Joe's dropping scoops. I don't know. It's not really a scoop yet. It's a mini scoop. It's a potential scoop. It's a semi scoop. I don't know what it is. But it's, yeah. You're gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. It's not a thing yet. I'm just working on it to make it a thing. I think it should be a thing.
It might, Rabbit. It might.
Your friends, your friends and your fans and your viewers will let you know. Let them know in the comments. Let them know what you think. I think it's grand. It'll be grand.
Indeed. So, folks, thank you so much once again for joining me here for Storytime with BDD. I look forward to seeing you here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.